What a beautiful room. First of all, I have to say, the Commonwealth Club has got a beautiful building, don't they? And the views out there and the views in here, you guys look great too. Commonwealth Club is the organization that really made this happen today. We're also co-sponsored by SF Pride. You know, there's a parade this weekend, right? I had an Uber driver that didn't know that. I filled him in. It's going to be a great parade, a great celebration. Despite what you've heard, everything's coming together for them. And also, Michelle Meow is making this happen today. She believes in our community, and she believes in showing it to a lot of people, and this is going to enable people to see it that way. So thank you, Michelle. Today we have a panel discussion. It is a specific topic, but a broad topic. Equity in today's tech-savvy world. Digital equity. What does that even mean? I'm afraid as a part of this panel, I'm probably the poorest choice because I'm kind of like Maggie Smith in Downton Abbey when they got the telephone and she said, first electricity, now telephones. Sometimes I feel like I'm living in an H.G. Wells novel. Do you ever feel that way? And I feel like sometimes I'm left behind because it's all so advanced, but trying to keep up. And once in a while, I do say, is this telephone an instrument of communication or torture? That's another line from Maggie Smith. We've got to keep up with these things. I do go back 30-some years in drag and activism. I remember the telephone tree. When something happened, somebody got sick, you'd call this one, they'd call that one. Anybody remember that? There was no way to communicate other than that to a large group. Now we have instant communication across the world, and actual treaties between organizations or countries are announced by tweet. So we've come a long way. But the important thing is we are a distinct community. We want to have equal rights, we want to have equity, but we have to remember we are distinct. There are a lot of unique things about our community, and we want to respect those differences, respect those needs, the complexity of our community. And so today we're going to talk about that. How does that apply specifically to the LGBTQ, as Michelle says sometimes, LMNOP community that we all love? So we have some panelists I'm going to introduce here as they come out. We're going to start with Celso Dulay. Give him a big, big hand. Celso is going to be right here on my left. Celso is he's a marketing director for something called Gagency. I mean, isn't he clever? He's one of the most creative people I know. And we have Sister Roma. Where is she? Which one is she? Can you pick her out? Sister Roma.
I'm over here, Donna.
She's a good friend, part of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, as you probably know. Also the most photographed nun in the world.
Yes,
Why
you
wouldn't
can
you
Google
photograph
that. You can ask AI, they'll confirm.
And she was involved in something called #MyNameIsRoma some years ago. You may have heard about that. That'll be part of our discussion today. Next, we have Susan Gonzalez. Susan is, thank you. Susan, a former Facebook employee, and she was with policy for Facebook as an executive, so she was up high. And now she's involved with something called AINU. She's the founder and CEO. I checked the site out this afternoon, and it is so easy to use. I learned things in 30 minutes, so great. And our final person on the panel is, you probably picked him out by now, right? Amp Summers is our fourth person. He's involved with a show, give me some love. He's involved with a show called What's the Safe Word? Some of you know what that is about. He'll fill you in as we proceed. We really do want to hit all the aspects of our complex society, our complex community, and how all these things apply to us specifically, and protect those things. So the moderator for the whole thing is going to be Celso, because he knows much more about this than I do. I'll interrupt a few times with questions, but each of them are going to tell their story. There'll be time for questions and answers, a few at the end. And we do have a lot of people watching all over is it all over the world? All over the Castro. And if they have questions, we'll include those as well. So I turn it over now to Celso. Are you ready to learn a little bit about AI, about social media, about inclusivity? Well, you're going to. Celso.
Thank you, Donna. Hello, everybody. I wanted to start with something, and then if you forgive me while I read this, because it's written by this very talented person, happens to be my husband. And I thought if I try to paraphrase it, I won't catch the actual, the gist of it, which I think is perfectly encapsulates what we're going to be talking about today. And it's this. The rapid evolution of AI technologies has transformed how we communicate, create, and connect online. Yet the LGBTQ plus communities, these digital spaces have often been battlegrounds. From content flagged as inappropriate, despite following platform guidelines, we know this all too well, to algorithmic bias, the silences queer expression in technology, that silences queer expression in search results and content recommendations. This panel brings together LGBTQ plus technology leaders, activists, and industry experts to explore how AI systems and content moderation policies can be designed to ensure that equitable voices are for all. So I kind of wanted to, let's start with how you, Roma, and Susan know each other. It was from the hashtag My Name is Roma.
Yeah, we were supposed to be arch enemies, and we became dear, dear friends. It happened when, around 2014, when drag queens specifically were getting their Facebook accounts taken down. People were reporting them for using what they called a fake name. And it sort of word started to creep out, and it spread sort of from the West Coast and started to go across the country. And I was sitting at my desk one day, and I was logged out of Facebook, and it asked me to log back in. So I asked for my legal name, and I was like, well, Facebook knows my legal name. They probably know what I had for breakfast this morning. So I put in my legal name, but then my profile with this face showed up with my legal name next to it. And I haven't used my legal name ever online anywhere. So I thought, well, I'll just call Facebook and just let them know they made a mistake. You don't get a live person when you call Facebook. At least you didn't back then. So CBS came to my office, and we talked about what was happening. They filmed it, and then we got in touch with Susan, who was a representative from Facebook. Yeah. And that is how we met, across the conference table at these intense meetings with our community and the leadership at Facebook.
Yeah, I remember. I just called you. One of our consultants in the city. I said, who's this person? Who's Sister Roma? Like, what's the deal? And I was like, just give me her number. And so I called. Just like, hey, this is Susan. And I think the biggest lesson I learned from that is, obviously that was a very different time, right? When diversity, equity, and inclusion really was, or intended to be, a priority. But it was also an exercise in how important it is to have an internal champion, because even then, I mean, we made some progress, but even then it was extraordinarily difficult, let alone today, because at the time, the companies wanted to do more in this space because that was the right thing to be doing, because, they were being watched. But nobody's overseeing that, and I don't even know if are there true champions internally, because do they have the backing of the company? But anyway, I learned a lot about the sisters, and have been an ally and friend. And Roma's just one of my closest and dearest friends.
Well, we learned that it wasn't just drag queens who were suffering from this reporting. It was adult content promoters, creators. It was poets, psychiatrists, school teachers, domestic violence survivors. And it turned out to be a really huge problem for Facebook that we brought to their attention. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of really great discussions about it. And my position always was, Facebook doesn't hate the gay community. Facebook doesn't hate drag queens. And we just wanted to get y'all to understand that it was users who hate drag queens in the community who are misusing this reporting process. And that's where we sort of took the conversation. But Susan and I have remained friends ever since. We met during that heated time, and we saw an ally in each other and became friends.
I love that.
Nice. Yeah.
And Roma, one more aspect. It affected the parade too, wasn't it? Something about the Facebook contingent being in the parade.
Oh well, we have met with Facebook for like 2 years. I mean, it was a very long process, and those meetings were quite interesting. Especially the first one, we had Lena was there sticking all the snacks from the center of the table into her purse. I mean, it was sort of a circus at first, but then we pared it down to the real core group of the people who met and worked, and we had different ways to. I probably got 10,000 emails from people because I had an inside track, as you mentioned, the importance of having an ally or somebody on the inside to help people get their accounts back. So we did at one point ask San Francisco Pride to ban Facebook from the parade because they were being harmful to our community.
And at the time, that meant 2 blocks of the parade.
Well, they didn't do it, but Facebook is showing its true colors now, isn't it?
True.
Not the only one. But I think that's an interesting conversation. The place to start is that queer people, especially drag queens, sex workers, sex educators, are usually those canaries that start chirping when something's not quite right on a platform, AI, algorithms, Facebook, YouTube, across the board. Generally, we have a harder time as queer people just being visible and just getting a platform to work properly. And so we're working 5 times harder just to be treated like a normal person on these platforms.
Mm-hmm. And that's how we got to know each other. We both have, well, you still have a show. We both had shows on YouTube. I had a show called G News that was on for about 5 years. Get all your gay in just one day.
That was just
Donna was on another kind of offshoot of that called Glitter Bomb, G-Bomb TV. We interviewed her and some other dignitaries from the city. But we had the show for about 5 years, and then we were doing everything that we thought we were supposed to be doing, following all the rules and trying to get ourselves more popular so we could eventually make money and make a living at doing the thing that we wanted to do, and also being part of the community and spreading the information and all that. And then we just hit a roadblock, and we realized quite starkly that we were being discriminated against through that, we believe, the algorithm, and then supported by the companies through that algorithm, and then their policies and all their lawyers. And so we had this very rare phone call where I finally got to, we were trying to advertise for the show, and I got through to a call center manager who told me flat out, and I recorded the call, that the reason they were denying us advertising is because of the gay thing. And we couldn't believe
like,
it.
quote unquote, the gay thing.
The gay thing.
Said by a supervisor with Google YouTube.
Said by a human that was told to say that by an algorithm, right? So we got a lawyer, and we started a lawsuit against Google and YouTube. Co-plaintiff is AMP with his show. You want to tell them a little about your show?
Yeah. So we had a mutual sex worker friend who happened to just mention it in chat with myself one day, and I was like, oh, I'm curious. Got on the phone with you guys. At the time, I think our channel had been up for like 5-6 years on YouTube. We just turned 10 literally the other day.
Congratulations.
Thanks. But we were experiencing a very similar issue where we became very popular because we were writing the algorithm. We were doing everything we were told to do, doing trends, tagging, collaborating. And then one day our views just plummeted and dropped out of nowhere. I'm pretty good at the algorithms. I'm pretty good at like trusting my red flag.
I think you're better than me. Yeah, you're pretty savvy.
I live online, so I'm on all these platforms. But the second that something's not working, something in my brain goes, what is wrong here? And so I started, Googling different kinds of video ideas and things that we'd done and topics that we had done a number of times, from like bondage tutorials to like queer sex ed, making sure people knew how to properly, clean out before you have fun. Topics that I was seeing straight people do and getting rewarded, but topics that we would do and the video would not get any traction. Mm-hmm. And then I started noticing that if you search for our channel specifically, you didn't get results that was our channel. You could literally cite, like, what's the safe word? Was the name of our channel? You type that in, you would not get us. Or if you did get videos of us, it was videos of us with a random thumbnail. And on these platforms, you're supposed to make yourself look polished. You're supposed to do your best to do your hair and make the thumbnail really clickable. But they were removing all these features for us. Mm-hmm. They weren't putting us in the search results of our actual channel. And to this day, we still have issues with that. But we took on ourselves and a number of other plaintiffs to try to prove this point, and continue to be gaslit to this day.
And that's really a David and Goliath thing. I mean, for you guys with your channels to go up against Facebook and YouTube and...
So what happened?
Well, we fought a good fight from 2019 to 23. It was about 4 years. We had lots of changes and lots of challenges. The lawyers that we had the last ultimately said this is not a winnable fight. So they closed the case. We were all very bummed about that, but I still feel like we made a positive change because, one, we stood up. We were documented. It's part of the legal fabric out there. It's searchable. It's another person or lawyer could pick that case up and reference it. So, and we started the discussion. We were out there and we made a point of it. And so I feel like we did do something. I'm glad we didn't just roll over and go, oh, that sucks, and let's just go about our day. So, and if everyone should continue to do that very same thing.
You know,
There
can I
was a
just
lot of publicity around that. I mean, you raised the awareness that you brought to the issue was invaluable. For sure.
And then we found out it was happening to so many people. I mean, almost everybody in the community. Yeah.
Our lawsuit was also taken on by the team that we had, was also doing a similar lawsuit, but with people of color.
Correct.
Essentially saying the same thing, but proving that there was an algorithmic bias, and AI was looking at people of color and saying, well, you're not as valuable to our platform, you are not as profitable for us, therefore we're not going to put you in those search results. We had one judge going with that lawsuit with the POC, and one judge going with our lawsuit, and both of these judges were saying, well, if it was a case of your gender identity or your being gay, then you'd have a case. But then you have this judge saying if it was a case of POC, then you'd have a case. Both judges saying you'd have a case if you were on the other lawsuit, but neither of the judges agreeing on what the problem was, which was algorithms and platforms not being honest and transparent with how the platform actually worked.
Well, I think that's a good segue in what we mentioned early on, just about talking a bit about AI here, and I just want to take a step back because. A lot of conversations around algorithms, and a lot of people don't even know what an algorithm is. And so the way I describe it is an algorithm is a recipe, really, that's behind what we are seeing. So you go into a bakery, you see a lot of baked goods where that's a result of a lot of recipes that made that happen. The algorithms are the recipes that have to be written in order to accomplish a task. So let's say, you're on Amazon and the algorithm says, okay, if this user clicks on jeans 2 times, we know that she likes jeans. So the algorithm says, send her ads on jeans. So that's what we're talking about with algorithms. And I think it's a really good conversation to have today because yes, social media, yes, and all the issues. But the biggest difference between then, when we met, what was that, 12, 13 years ago, and now is we could choose to opt into social media or not. It was our choice. But we, all of us around the globe, we do not have an option on whether to interact with AI or not. It's happening. It's been happening for years. And now is a time for people to understand it, especially all of our different communities, because AI learns from us, our behavior, and learns about us. And so yes, there's still more white men writing the algorithms down in Silicon Valley, but the AI learns. So the more we interact, the more it can learn about our own communities. Now, having said that, I don't even like giving up that much information, but then I'm a cancer survivor, breast cancer survivor, and I think, well, I should be involved in this piece of it to help my family, who's probably going to get breast cancer too, to reflect my statistics. But then I don't want to share that personal information.
Right.
So that's the double-edged sword.
Let's pull that thread a little bit further and ask everybody, specifically users, and I think you're primed to know, but do we know exactly where AI is currently embedded in our lives, like especially with the LGBTQ plus spaces, like dating apps, social media, healthcare platforms? It's kind of everywhere. And to your point, there's a responsibility, I feel, to feed it the right information so that it supports our community. But at the same time, I'm a little skittish to, how much am I giving them for free?
Well, yeah.
I mean, how not, I don't want to say invasive, pervasive, and where it is. Do we all realize where it lives?
Well, I was speaking and someone said, well, Susan, when did I first begin interacting with AI today? And my response was, well, what time did you pick up your device?
Exactly.
Did you use your face to open your phone? That's facial recognition. Did you click on anything? That's called predictive AI. There's a reason Netflix suggests a movie in a genre, let's say comedies, because I keep watching comedies, because I'm teaching the AI. Not that I'm Susan Gonzalez and this is my address, but that I'm a user of this, internet address. And yeah, I want to see more comedies. That's predictive AI. Where we are today is generative AI now is the evolution. And you may have heard a lot about generative AI. And that's where we, the big we community, should be using it more so it can reflect us more. But then there's also the privacy concern. So bottom line is nothing's for free. Even with social media, that's why you can never get a hold of anybody, because it was for free. Well, you know what? It's not, because what we're giving is our data. So just remember, the most important thing to remember is AI needs data That's the food it needs to work.
But they make it so much fun to turn it over.
I know.
All those filters that you did where it said, how old do I look? How old will I look? All of those transformation videos and those things they did on TikTok, all of those fun filters, every single one of those was grabbing your face and all of your information and your history and creating this giant database.
100%. They make it a game, so it's fun, and you don't realize that you're just giving away valuable
And they've done
stuff.
studies that there are even not psychological but physical things about it, that this trips a certain gear in your mind and makes you want to go back again and again. Isn't that true?
Well, I was just telling Roma before we walked out, just yesterday, the Wall Street Journal did a long article on just that very thing, in that the generative AI tools are designed in some cases to give positive feedback. So people are using an AI tool, a generative AI tool, where this is how I describe generative AI. It generates a response. So predictive AI, all we have to do is this. Generative AI, we have to ask a question which is called a prompt. So a prompt would be something like, act as a therapist. I am afraid of spiders. I can't get over spiders. I need help getting over spiders. And then it will come up with a solution. But again, it could be wrong.
Jump in a pit of spiders.
Right.
So like that, quite literally, some of the generative AI you get on Google these days is like, I have an upset stomach. What should I do? Eat a rock. Like,
Yeah,
quite literally,
exactly.
it's something that generative AI from Google was telling people to do at one point. How is this training? How are we making this safer? How are we actually using this as a tool rather than something destructive?
Well, how do you use it, Roma?
She's not afraid of spiders.
You don't need rocks, do you?
I'm a creative person. I'm a creative director. I've been involved. I've done graphic design in my entire adult life. I'm also a writer. As a sister, I perform marriage ceremonies and blessings. And I refuse to turn to AI. To like for instance, look at my face. Like, people are like, you always look the same. You always paint the same face. Literally every single time I do my face, and I've done it 16 times this month alone, it's different because it's hand painted. This is my skill. This is my craft. This is my devotion. This is my knowledge of the products I'm using. It's a little muscle memory, but every single time I do it, it's different. I never know exactly what eyebrow I'm going to get, what the lips are going to look like. Luckily, it's usually gorgeous. But, I don't have a template. I don't have AI. I don't have stickers or stencils. It's all hand painted. And I just don't want the humanity in creativity to be removed. I don't want people to turn to AI to do the things that should be personal, like a wedding ceremony or write a blessing. That's where I don't want to see AI come into play.
Or do legal work, or as a creator online, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Twitch, YouTube, all these platforms. They're now implementing AI in such a way that they've got AI that will give you a summary of a YouTube video before you even watch it. Meanwhile, on the back end, as a creator, it's giving me forced ideas on what I should be creating. And then I look in my comment section, and it's giving me comments that I should just click to automatically comment to these people who are getting generative research or results of my video. So I don't even know if I'm interacting with a real human, let alone a help person at these companies. But the AI is telling me what to create. The AI is telling people if they should watch this video and what they should comment, and then telling me how I should comment back. The AI is working with itself at this point. There's no creativity in that. There's no humanity. And as a creator, that is the most disappointing part to the AI and how it's been taking over a lot of these platforms, let alone the information it's giving us and how it can gaslight and almost hallucinate, is a term that they call it, where it's telling you things that's not true or not real or not factual.
Right. There's examples of how AA handles and mishandles LGBTQ plus identities and experiences. I kind of want to bring it back to that, how it affects our community, and then how we can kind of maintain the humanity within it, because I don't want to say it's here to stay. I don't like that idea, it's coming, it's a doom thing. But it is here, and it's very pervasive, and I don't see it changing. But we've kind of been here a little bit before in the past. My husband's a photographer, and I remember the days, I'm that old, count the reins, where you had to change a photograph in the darkroom, where you couldn't just, and then we got Photoshop, and then you could start to know, oh, that photo's been Photoshopped. And we start to understand this reality that that's not the actual original image. It's been doctored a little bit, and then you somewhat accept it, right? And then you sort of expect it. You take a picture, you're like, please filter that. Why do I look like that? I should look better. And so then that becomes kind of part of our reality. And I feel like with AI stuff too, you're starting to know like, oh, that must have been generated by AI, or that is completely unrealistic. There's no way that that's real. It's got to be doctored. And we're kind of getting this relationship with it. But to everybody's points now too, there's this disconnect and then this complication with all of it, because on one side it's this valuable tool that can do all this great stuff, and it has an insidious side. So for an example, I use AI a lot for research, as an editor, when I'm putting together art for compilation ideas. And certain sites I go to, for instance, let's say Shutterstock, I have to be somewhat clever about asking for what it is I'm really looking for, because apparently two guys kissing is, that's bad. I'm told it's not appropriate. They can't find it for me. It's whatever. It's not good content. So then I have to start asking it like some Cole Porter song, like some creative way of saying like, oh, two guys standing next to each other, and then I feel like I'm being in the closet again. I'm having to alter my authenticity and what it is I'm looking for, and why is this bad, and all of that kind of goes on inside. I mean, have you guys experienced anything like that?
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think it's super interesting that you bring that up, because I just did something yesterday. So it would be interesting to see what happens when you go, instead of going to Shutterfly or wherever we go, or iStock Photos or those days, as in last week, but just go to, ChatGPT or Google Gemini. And so I just did this yesterday. I'm looking for some images for my website. And I thought, you know what, forget it. So I said, create an image of a teacher in front of a community college classroom teaching AI. And voila, there was the image. However, accidentally, this is where you wouldn't have noticed just glancing, but I looked at it again. The laptop was just like floating in midair.
Right.
But I'm just saying though that if there are more requests for images for the gay community, then you're telling that tool that there's a need for more community reflection. You see what I mean? But I think I would just want to say definitely in this situation too, of like to give everybody here a call to action, because unlike in the past where you had to wait till the No Name campaign, or you had to wait to, file these lawsuits, now is a time to understand from your elected officials what they're working on in AI, because especially in California for today, they actually are working on some legislation that are intended to protect human rights. Well, what does that mean? So nobody's asking these questions of these elected officials, because honestly, they're just learning. They're just people too. But in a weird way, we're in this infancy of this new way of living, and it's only going to get better the more it gets wrong. So what do you think is going to happen from all that?
Unfortunately, we're all being, mined for our data, as we kind of said, but there was recently, I forget which specific model it was, went through hundreds of thousands of YouTube videos, and thankfully there's an operator who was reverse engineered how that AI model was working to train itself, and was like, here's a tool, type in your YouTube channel, and I can tell you which videos this AI model took and trained itself with. And of course, I did not say I would like to do that. This was not a YouTube model, but of course found some of our videos that were training this AI within this algorithm that was built. I didn't get paid for that. I don't know what it took from that. I don't know if it took jokes out of context that might then turn into homophobic policies or rules that it makes up. But from my own perspective, I've tried using ChatGPT and just to research, queer histories and queer ideologies and, our community. And it actively is making things up within its results. And when you ask for those, can you explain that? It's either too sexual, too perverse, or, oh, I'm sorry, I can't explain that for you. That's so scary.
It is scary. That's I was saving this for a little bit later. I'm all out of order. It doesn't really matter. But that brings me to this, because I have this kind of notion, as Susan was saying before, all of this isn't necessarily the tool, but it's the companies that own it. It's the people that write the program. It's, if the company or the owners of the company, are they good players? Are they good actors? Are they bad? What are they doing with the data? How are they selling it? Do you get any say in it? And so I think part of the puzzle too is looking at which programs and tools and companies you want to use, and are they being good in the world today? And I did a search with my preferred AI, which is Anthropic's Claude. And I was just trying to prepare, this was a couple of days ago, saying, show me a list of all of the bills in California right now that are for AI, And this is one of the reasons I do like Claude, as opposed to, and I'm not paid by Claude, is it literally told me I need to be upfront about my knowledge limitations. My reliable knowledge cutoff is at the end of January 25. So while I know there's significant AI legislation, I think you should go and find out for yourself. And it points me to the California Legislature's website, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, ACLU, a list of all these other places to go and find the information because they didn't believe that they had all the accurate stuff. It was remarkable to me. It wasn't just, oh, here, put glue on your pizza. It'll make it better.
But it's also so scary how personal it is with you.
Oh,
like,
Claude,
you know what?
yeah.
I don't know the right answer, but let me just, take advantage of this conversation. And that makes me uncomfortable, though.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but like the way that it tries to be so formal and personal, when you know that it's not a real thing or person, no disrespect, AI overloaded, thanks for your help. But like, it's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing to remember is it's a Wild West right now. So even though the companies respectfully don't do whatever they're doing, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They're not held, at this moment, they're not held accountable to anybody or anything. So that's on the company side.
Right.
So they can, sit in Congress and say, yeah, we need to be regulated, which was super strategic because basically they're like, here, you figure it out. And while you do that, we'll check back in 5 years. So, and there's nothing in sight, which is why hopefully California can do something which would then require these companies to be more aware of how their algorithms are working. But right now, the biggest question is for generative AI, where are you getting the data to provide all these answers? Zip.
Right.
Because they don't have to answer.
And the only time they do answer is when somebody finds it out, figures it out, expose, or releases this program that tells you, oh, this AI platform was trained off of your data. Here's how I know. And that's the only time they are ever transparent about something is when they're in trouble or you try to sue them.
Well, when our community was first growing, we thought, oh, we need our own bank. So now it's going to be gay money. We'll have it all in the bank. We need our own stores, our own thing to pull away from everybody else. Is that a possibility, or is it too far gone?
A gay
because there
eye?
are gay people in the tech industry.
I don't even know. It's one of those, someone said it's building a train and the track at the same time.
Right.
I mean, I know, Roma,
And we're
what are
on
you
that
hearing in the
car.
community?
Is it something similar to like a controlled data governance from the community? Like the
That's
community
what I was
has
going
a
to say.
say?
It's up to us. Like
Right.
we need to train AI to be fabulous.
And back to the
You have
legislation.
to start calling AI girl. first of all, regardless of their gender.
That'll be our first AI company, girl.
Oh, is it girl? I need some help, Mitch.
Yeah.
You can call her bitch too. Because we're gonna make her super gay.
Yeah. Right.
You need to we need to gay it up.
That's going to be the
around
key
here.
word, bitch.
Yeah.
So, but California's made a lot of strides as far as protecting our privacy online, and there's laws and stuff. And I have an e-commerce store, and they have to be sensitive. You have to post things by California law, and it's similar, not as I think advanced as the UK. They take it very seriously.
Very seriously.
So I have a lot of promise for what California is writing as far as laws and stuff. Do you know offhand, like what we should be looking for, what we should be thinking of when we go? Because your background's in policy. Your
Right.
whole fingerhold is in the policy.
Yeah. Honestly, I would say now is a time to ask your lead. In fact, I mentioned before, Scott Wiener is he's an AI leader in Sacramento, have a gathering just with him. and have a conversation. Maybe it's Roma and Scott Wiener on the stage and just having a dialogue, like, help us understand what you're working on. Because in so doing, then you may be able to identify, okay, that issue, we can get behind it. So who do you need to get, Scott? So the community can focus on that person and influencing that person's decision.
Yes.
Now is a time to do that because it's all in the works.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And it is overwhelming. I mean, almost. I talked to Scott Wiener this week in preparation for this, and I said, what's going on? And he said, well, be more specific. I can't be more specific because I don't even know the questions to ask. But he had 7 bills that he was working on.
Correct.
Well, what are those? Let's take one at a time. It's just overwhelming.
Well, and I reviewed them the other day briefly, similarly, and there is one that is specifically requiring the tech companies to, I don't even know what the word is, to be more aware of human rights in their development, AI development. Nobody's going to rush to want to do that. You know why? Because it'll slow it down. And there's a race. There's a race happening right now.
Bottom line, right?
Who's going to get to, it's called, so we have predictive AI, then we talked about generative AI. The next evolution is our AI agents, which is happening now. Now that you've heard me, you're going to hear it more. An AI agent, if you will, like when you're on a website and there's like, here's your customer service bot, and there's a picture of a person. Well, it's really not a person. It's just AI. But that can only go 2 ways. And then it can go wrong, and then it will say, hold on, let me get you somebody. But an AI agent can reason. And so let's say I own a restaurant,
Right.
and you can make a reservation or not, but the AI agent that I now have in my computer system will now tell you, yes, you can come Thursday at 7, but you cannot sit outside because there's a forecast of rain. So that's new. That's that the AI is reasoning. So that's AI agents. The ultimate evolution, if you will, is called artificial general intelligence, that AGI. And that's what I'm saying. The race is who's going to get to AGI first.
Right.
And that is C-3PO. That is a robot as the nurse or your parent caregiver. So that's what it's all
More
about.
jobs taken from people. Like
Yeah.
it's like I can't with the Waymos and the honestly, what are people supposed to do?
I watch too much sci-fi.
sorry.
The whole thing is scary to me. It's
Well,
just like,
we need fitness, so you should walk right now. I'm too lazy for that. But no, I hear what you're saying, Roma. But at the same time, there is a balance because there is lots of really valuable things that AI and the technology can do for us and do for our community and for people in general.
Especially
Let's
in
talk about that a little
medicine.
bit.
Medicine, huge advancements.
Yeah.
We're talking about, HIV and AIDS as an example. I was just reading about some new AI technology that's really helping advance HIV medication. So yes, there are a lot of positive things. And then there's also, you have to be safe about
what are
it.
some more of the positive things? I mean, what can we expect that's positive from AI?
A lot in cancer research. So imagine, when you go to the doctor and they have their hand files and they write your information down and they file it again. Well, then the next person comes in that might have cancer and the doctor goes, not anymore. Now that physician can access hundreds and thousands of pieces of data like that, which would then result in a better diagnosis or prognosis. So in medicine, there are huge advancements across diabetes, cardiovascular disease, a lot of great
I
things.
guess the difference is there is like sick or ill. I mean, they're sick or well, And in social constructs, I mean, maybe the person that's monitoring it would not think it's great to have a gay pride parade. They would say that's negative. We'd say it's positive. So it's hard to gauge.
Well, it's about being a tool. I use
Correct.
generative AI in Photoshop sometimes, which fills in blank spots or gets rid of a person and replaces them with a tree, because they're in a picture that's not helpful. But in those models, they're paying artists or they're paying for stock photos to make sure that they're trained this AI. As those kinds of tools, I don't have a problem using, but it's the other tools that are taking jobs and aren't being tools anymore that where, at least as a creative, I have a huge problem with because that is someone's job, that's someone's passion, that is someone's creativity that you're now giving to a robot.
Right. Well, in my experience too with working with AI in a creative way is that it can't do it on its own, at least for now. It can't do it on its own. You need that human, that creative to instigate it, to prompt it, to tell it what to do, to say, oh, you've made this sunset, but I really wanted an afternoon with a little bit more hazy sky, or I was thinking it was going to be in Paris, so you really need to be part of it, and it doesn't just do it for you, and there's layers to it if you're really going in there and creating it and really getting into using it in that way. So it's always kind of like an assistant or a tool, and at least how I'm using it. I don't just.
But we were talking about companion. Why don't you tell your story about your friend?
Oh gosh, yes.
Well, there are people who are turning to AI for companionship, and this is again, it's not that new. It's been happening, but they've reached a point now where, as you mentioned, it's so conversational and it can reason and it's learning every time that you talk to it. It's learning more
It'd
about
be funny
you.
sometimes, yeah.
And it's a risky, very slippery slope because there are some people who will become very attached to their AI companion and maybe even lose the perspective that it's not real.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not talking to a real person, and they're offering solutions and ideas that they are just grabbing from random places that other people have already made or said. Like there's nothing original about it. They don't really know the core. They don't know what it is to be human. That's an existence that they cannot relate to.
As a tool, as a sex educator and somebody who's in that more sexual charged space, like chatbots are used all the time by people who want to fulfill a fantasy or kind of get a little like flirtatious. And it teaches people how to be good at like sexting and chatting and being more intimate with real people. But there is also that crutch of like, you're getting attached to this person that does not exist. And now you're not connecting with your actual people in your lives and your friends, and you might be a bit more disconnected in that way.
And how honest is your personal chat?
My personal chat AI tool says I'm a great lover, and I
All
don't
the
know what
time.
you're talking
Believe
about.
it. Celso, before
You
we
need
go
to
further,
talk to
wanna
me.
see-
I will
check
tell you
time
the
with
truth.
Michelle.
Trust me.
Are we good on time, Michelle?
Is it time to go to questions and answers? Michelle, are you out there? Okay. Go ahead.
It might be soon, actually. Yes.
I think we've got
Well,
some
that
anxious
said
questions out
32.
there.
Now it says 7. I don't know. Is that counting down our time? Yes, it is.
That's to when
We
AI
have
takes
7
over.
minutes left. We have 7 minutes left.
Be nice.
Okay.
Before, AI, according
Let's
to
have-
our AI in the back.
Do we want to go to
Let's
questions?
have some
then?
questions. And I
Yeah.
saw several people that were perking up, so
I see a hand over
I'll
there.
come with the microphone. Where are we?
There's a hand
There's
right
one
there.
there,
And there.
and then there.
We've got 7 minutes of AI heaven.
Okay. And it'll be a quick question, and we want to, you know what we're looking for.
I'll have a question. I'm going to have a first comment, then I'm going to have a question. I think Waymo, the voice that we could hear when you're in the vehicle, I think it should be Sister Roma's voice. That's my comment. I think all vehicle announcements and airplanes should be Sister Roma. Like, bitch. Okay, now, my question, my question is, yes, we should have our own bank, online bank, hopefully, that we could save our wealth in different currencies, including crypto. I think those are very low-cost business because you don't have all these stores. So I really would like to see that happen. And also, obviously, these social medias, fuck them, okay? We should make our own, okay? We get prioritized in all the algorithm, okay? We should make our own. That's right, yeah.
That's expensive.
Duly noted.
Yeah.
It's just gotten so big. You know, when Twitter was going all through that, there were several new sites that came up. Well, True Social. But anyway.
Blue Sky, isn't it?
Over
Blue
here we
Sky?
have-
Yeah, Blue Sky.
This guy's doing
a lot
well.
of people.
Guy is really
Bare bones.
great, yeah.
Much simpler than Twitter's algorithms.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Super interesting conversation. So when I think about technology in general and advancement in technology, I think value neutral. Like, it's not inherently good or bad, but what is it being used for and by whom? Like, who is it going to benefit based on the way it's being used? And I think based on the structures that we have now and the power structures that we have now, like, our community is not the first, right? Like, we are not the priority. And so I wonder, in terms of equity, I hear like, one of the tools is we should actually train the AI ourselves. But on a large scale, I feel like there are systemic issues. What are other ways that we can protect ourselves, advocate for ourselves, influence whom AI is serving over time?
I would say, I mean, general tools I use on a daily basis to protect myself, VPNs. I make sure I opt out of cookies and other things on websites. I follow like professionals like the EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and other websites that give you those kinds of, hey, here's the news you should be up on.
EFF is a really good suggestion. With the cookies, I think it's being really cognizant and responsible about your activity, and I wouldn't shy away from it. But like when I go to a website and it asks me, do you want to, thank you for the California law, do you want to share your information? Every single website I go through and I say no advertising, only what you need to function is what I'm going to give you, unless you're giving me money for it. Yeah. And so I think if you have that when you're approaching it and using it, and if it's a situation where you can help, if you're adding to educate yourself on all the different aspects of it and know what you're interacting with. It seems a little heady, but I think it's valuable. And then you have at least some power that you can administer when you're out there using everything.
Let's take two
and
more
I
questions.
think it's important to also, I was kind of joking when I said we have to make it fabulous and train it, but we have to keep talking about our story, sharing our history, because there is a current administration that is literally wiping our history off the internet. And that's where AI is grabbing this information. So we need to make sure that our stories are there. Put them on your own website. Put them everywhere that you get a chance to tell the queer history, so that when someone asks AI a question, it's out there. The correct answer that serves us, that we need to hear, is there.
Practical advice. Good.
Yeah, I think bottom line is now is not the time for any community to bury their heads in the sand and wait till this goes away, because we're just going to be missed. We won't be represented in the long run.
Yeah, we got that. We don't do that.
This is the last hand I
Community
saw,
does
so we're
not
going to
do
take
that.
one more question and then we're...
Thank you. I'm part of an organization that does queer trans men's retreats, and we did. Someone did using AI to come up with some graphic images for it and asked for a bunch of men by a pool. What they got back was all these perfect body white men. And so I guess my question is really around diversity. I mean, we're talking a lot about queerness, but like we also had to kind of really work to make sure we had a variety of skin colors and ethnicities and all of that represented in it. So I'm just curious what you all think about that relative to that kind of diversity, not just around queer.
Yeah.
Well, I would say even just people requesting that. The more people that request it, is you're telling the AI there's a need for that. But again, the idea that the people that are writing these algorithms is going to change in the near future, like, it's not going to happen. It's predominantly white men, and especially now that all the DEI stuff has been washed away, that's not going to change. So what we can do is participate in this new digital world, but be safe about how much we're getting, because nothing's for free.
Right.
We get on the free, no, it's our data.
There are people making a lot of money on it. Yeah.
And I think it comes back to like the prompting I was explaining before, because clearly that indicates that they have the stereotypical idea of what a gay pool party would look like, right? And so when you're prompting, because this happens to me, you have to go in and say, okay, not everybody white. I want to see different skin tones. I want to see blah, blah, blah. And so it's as the creative artist, the one that's prompting that AI, you have to keep challenging it. And as Roma said, that's also feeding, it's changing the model. It's changing the library. It's changing what's referenceable. And you can kind of help reshape that stereotypical idea of things. So maybe it wouldn't be that kind of...
Yeah.
So thank you.
Bottom line is, a prompt is the question that you use to generate a response. Just remember, the more specific the prompt, the more specific the output. So in this case, you could go back and say, we want 20 men by a pool, we want 3 of them, black, and 2 of them Asian, and 3 of them whatever. Then you'll get that image. And then you're telling the system, well, that's something that...
But by default, that's what we got.
But
Right,
of
right,
course, yeah.
right.
Well, listen, I did a thing on wardrobe, and by default, it was like a size 4 model. Well,
Okay, thank you for your questions and your attention. I want to thank our panel. They've been great. We may not have answered a lot of questions. We brought up a lot of issues. I think self-education is certainly part of it. So thank you. I want to thank
Thank
Susan.
you.
I want to thank Sister Roma. I want to thank Amp. And Celso, before I thank you, you have an announcement to make.
Oh, I do. Yes, thank you. We have, my husband and I have come up with a calendar that's on our store called glitterworthystore.com. We had this novel idea to have a calendar that started in June and went to May. So instead of January to December, it starts with Pride Month. It's a gay calendar. It's a queer calendar. And it only has, as the events and holidays are all queer-related events and holidays. So we just thought it was a novel, nice idea. $10 of every calendar goes to the Transgender Law Center. So we really think that's an important area that needs money and focus. So, yeah.
Be in touch with anybody in the panel. Thank you for being here today.
And you're gonna.
Thank you.
I think Donna's gonna grace
you,
us with a
Donna.
number. Yes.
Thank you, Donna Sachet.
Yeah, I was going to sing a song, if that's okay. This is a song about my solution to a lot of these things. Make the effort to be kind. Make the effort to be nice. So easy. So many things we can't control. So much hurt that happens every day. So many heartaches that pierce the soul. So much pain that won't ever go away. How do we make it better? How do we make it through? What can we do when there's nothing we can do? We can be kind. We can take care of each other. We can remember that deep down inside, we all need the same thing. And maybe we'll find, if we're there for each other, that together we'll weather whatever tomorrow may bring. Treacherous stairs. Nobody really wants to fight. Nobody really wants to go to war. Everyone wants to make things right. What are we always fighting for? Does nobody want to see it? Does nobody understand? The power to heal is right here in our hands. We can be kind. We can take care of each other. We can remember that deep down inside, we all need the same thing. And maybe we'll find, if we're there for each other, that together we'll weather whatever tomorrow may come. And it's not enough to talk about it, not enough to sing this song. We must walk the walk about it. You and I, do or die. We've got to try to get along. We can be kind. We can take care of each other. We can remember that deep down inside, don't we all need the same thing? And maybe we'll find, if we're there for each other, that together we'll weather whatever tomorrow may bring. Yes, maybe we'll find true peace of mind if we'll only remember, we can be kind. thank you. Thank you for being here. Be kind to each other. Thank you.